sorry, I jumped in. I was like,
Okay, Sophia, why did the Pharisees say Jesus was not from God?
question. Because he did not keep the Sabbath. Yep, that's it.
What?
Because he did not keep the Sabbath. He
Yeah.
healed on the Sabbath.
Finish this quote. How can
Question. Do such signs.
good? Two-part answer. What caused a
Question. Some of the Pharisees said, how can this man be from God and does not keep the Sabbath? Others said, how can a man who is the son do such signs?
Jamie is having a very good time. He got one right.
Look, I said,
He got one. He got one right. You got one right. Order in the court.
this man is God who does not keep the Sabbath. Is that not what?
Good.
There you go.
Okay, why did Josh? You just gave the red team 10 points and team 2. Yeah, exactly. You gave red team and blue team points.
Because it's
Who did the formerly
I know. I can't do that. Someone can take my place.
I'll be quizmaster.
Oh, did she just say?
This is a one more question.
Oh, wait, what that was?
Okay, I'll tell you the answer. He is a prophet. I really didn't need to know that answer. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, I said it back here. Can you go negative
Bo bo bo.
Move our table back again, a little more adjustable. I was wrong. No, I seen Max one. I was thinking 3 and 5. Tape. I mean, some kind of tape, yeah. Last time I had a Bible sitting on it, but I'll look for a paper one. Whoa. Fancy. Yeah, buddy. I haven't even made it that level yet. We don't drink coffee. Did buy a dump truck though.
You don't need a coffee company with a dump truck. That's what I've always heard anyway. Yep. Yeah. Alright, let's gonna try to run it best we can.
We didn't do anything with QR codes for questions, did we?
No, I don't. People were talking about that, and they thought maybe just be too much invitation for there to be communication between the crowd forward, just because people was looking at it and.
Yeah. Okay, good evening, everyone. Who's the first two? 3, 5. Okay, 3 and 5 will be up here first, but first I wanted to welcome everyone again. We had planned on taking Easter off and finishing up the following week. Just throwing this out there, Shelly's family is here for that wedding that weekend. So it'd be nice if we could finish up on Easter weekend. Does anyone have a serious objection to making Easter Sunday our final night? Or do you already have other plans, or wouldn't it work?
We are doing church dinner that day, right? I would assume. I don't know.
I mean, if we have to, I even thought we could start later, like 6 o'clock. But unless someone has a pressing something, because Shelly's family's here.
I say skip the wedding.
I was gonna keep doing it, but also Brandon and Brittany are gone. That takes 2 of
Oh
us.
yeah, Brandon and Brittany are missing that weekend as well, so it would be nice for their sake. So unless someone's gonna tell me otherwise, we'll figure on finishing up. We'll just keep on going, and that'll be our last Sunday.
That is review, right? All review.
Not sure. Just thinking about just doing another chapter.
Okay.
Haven't decided on that fully. But Okay, good. Let's pray and then we can start. Kenton, do you want to pray for us?
Sure, let's pray. Thank you, God, so much for today. Just be with us tonight as we study and help us to learn more about you and just help us have a great time. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Okay, good deal. Have fun, guys. And 3 and 5 first.
Bill, did you want to mention something about the vowels and talking?
The what?
Vowels and talking over reading?
Yeah, I was thinking, was that last time I didn't say throw yet.
5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, 3, 5.
I know, it seems like it's over here.
Gave me 3 wrong questions when we were practicing. I'll send across from her.
It was small.
Are we still missing quizzers, guys? Does anyone know? Like, I don't see Dustin and
Someone's
any,
wasn't,
are they the only two that are missing?
Are they coming?
Because I was gonna, we were gonna review it, just
that's them.
go quickly over a little bit of, make
think
sure
so.
everyone's clear on the rules. One thing I've noticed, I went back and watched, our matches last week, and one thing I'm gonna clean up on a little bit is when someone buzzes in, let's say Carson buzzes in, and he's using up all 30 seconds to get his question or his answer out. And you guys over here are starting to think, okay, it's coming to me. The temptation is to start talking. I seen people talking last week, and we don't, as judges up there, we don't know what yous are talking about. So, just make sure, guys, and it's also, it can be a distraction, so it's 2 reasons we don't do it. We don't allow talking when the other person is trying to answer a question, because you can potentially be cluing each other in on the answer that's coming, and also a distraction to the quizzer that's trying to come up with it. So let's work on cleaning that up. That is technically, we are technically able to call a foul on you if we do see that, because yeah, it's you're supposed to be quiet. So just, and everyone does. You guys do a good job, and I don't want to stop the like, I don't mind you guys bumping each other and be like, good job, you know, and way to go. I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. I'm talking about when someone is really concentrating and you know that it's going to come over to you. You have to be quiet then. All right, go ahead, Josh.
Okay, question number 1. Where did the man call Jesus? All right, this goes to Lydia. Where did the man called Jesus put some mud?
Question on his eyes. Well, on the blind man's eyes.
That's correct. Question 2. Which day did Jesus...
Question. Shabbat.
That is correct. Question number 3. Who had spoke...
Question. The man's parents.
That is incorrect. This goes to Daniel. Question number 3. Who has spoken to Moses?
Question. God.
That is correct. Question number 4, situation question. Who said it, and to whom was it said? Is this your... this goes to Lydia. Situation question. Who said it, and to whom was it said? Is this your son, who you say was born blind? How then does he now see?
Question. The Pharisee said to the blind man's parents.
That is correct. All right. Question number 5. Who reviled the...
Question. The Pharisees.
That is correct. Question 6. Who again asked the man how...
Question. The Pharisees.
That is correct. Question 7. Situation question. Who said it and about whom? This man is...
Question. The Pharisee said it about Jesus.
That is correct. Question number 8. When is Jesus the light?
Question. When he is on the earth, on the world.
That is correct. Question number 9. Whom did the Pharisees...
Question. The man's parents.
That is incorrect. This goes to Daniel. Whom did the Pharisees call a second time?
Question. The man who was formerly blind.
That is correct. Question number 10. What might be displayed?
Question. The books of God.
That is correct. Question 11. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? You have seen him...
Question. Jesus said to the man when he said, "Who is the Son of Man?"
That is correct, Josh. Question 12. From when was a man...
Question. Sin. Utter sin.
That is incorrect. This goes to Daniel. From when was a man blind?
Question. From birth.
That is correct. All right. Review questions next. Okay, review question number 1. Who was left alone with the...
Question. Jesus.
That is correct. Question 2. Of which group was Nicodemus?
Question. The Pharisees.
That is correct.
Time out.
Last review question. Who were willing to take
Question.
This goes to Esther. Who were willing to take Jesus into the boat?
Question. His disciples.
That is correct.
It was his quiz out. He'd have won it.
Come on, Joe. I told you. Those reviews are hard. You gotta catch up on reviews.
3 chapters.
Two, six. 2, 6. You know, they're not supposed to do this.
Needs to get.
On that button. Because at worst,
Are we over here?
Yeah, right here.
You well, quick quiz out. And this one.
Yeah.
Quiz out. Quiz out on
And then I'll fix this.
oh yeah. So they still can get that.
They
But
could if they.
everyone but that.
Yes. If they would be knowing. They have to keep track of a lot of stuff for that.
Okay, go ahead, please. Claudia.
Okay, question number 1. Until when
Question.
Day. His day.
I'm sorry?
While in his day.
Nope, that is incorrect. This goes to Grayson. Until when did the Jews still not believe that the man had been blind and had received his sight?
Question. Until they called the parents of the blind man.
That is correct. Question 2. What is an amazing...
Question. That you do not know where he comes from, yet he opened my eyes.
That is correct. Question number 3. What has never been...
Question. It has never been heard that anyone has opened the eyes of a man born blind.
That is correct. Question 4. What had the Jews...
Question. The Jews were disciples of Moses.
That is incorrect. This goes to Evelyn. What had the Jews already agreed upon?
Question. That if anyone said that Jesus was the Christ, he would be put out of the temple.
That is correct. Question 5, situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? Are we also...
Question. The Pharisees said it to Jesus after he said,
You're correct. You got enough of the question. Question 6. What did the parents of the...
Question. We know that this is our son and that he was born blind, but
That is correct. Question 7, situation question. Who said it to whom? He is,
Question. Jesus said it to the blind man.
that's incorrect. So this goes to Shiloh. Situation question. Who said it to whom? He is a prophet.
question. Jesus said it to. No, not Jesus. The blind man said it to. The Pharisees?
That is correct. Question number 8. In what pool?
Question. The pool of Siloam.
That is correct.
Time out. Time out. I need to swap and do quiz out.
Is that what the timeout's for?
Yeah.
But it's not official.
Oh, sorry.
So, I was getting there to Warner. Yeah. I was getting there to Warner.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Question 9. Whom had the...
Question. The blind man.
That is correct. Question 10. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and what response followed? You were born...
Question. The Jews said it to the blind man when he said, "This is an amazing thing," and he was trying to teach them. He said a lot of stuff. I don't really know what to say. He said, "This is an amazing thing. You do not know where he comes from, and yet he opened my eyes."
You're correct. What? It was going a different direction, but you had 2 of the 3, so you're correct. All right. Question 11. Who will speak for...
Question. The man who was formerly blind, the son of the parents.
That is correct.
Time out.
Question 12. What could this man...
Question. Nothing?
That is correct.
That was Lincoln, wasn't it?
Yes. Review question number 1. Who else bears...
Question. He who sent me and myself.
That is correct. Question number 2. When had the people...
Question. After Jesus had blessed it.
That is correct. Last review question. What was blowing?
Question. A strong wind.
That is correct. Next is 4 on the left, 1 on the right. Question number 1. What did the Jews
Question. Is this your son that you say was born blind?
Incorrect. This goes to Jordan. What did the Jews do to the man who had been blind?
Question. They questioned him? Or they asked him how?
That's incorrect. Sorry. They reviled him. It's close. Question number 2, situation question. Who said it, to whom, and when? Do you believe?
Question. Jesus said it to the blind man when he asked him, do you believe in the Son of Man?
That is correct. Question number 3. Who knew he was born?
Question. His parents.
That is
His
correct.
parents.
Question 4. Who went and washed?
Question. The blind man.
That is correct. Question 5. What is an
Question.
This goes to Jackson. What is an amazing thing?
Question. The Pharisees did not know how the blind man had been healed by Jesus, or that they did not know where his power came from.
Hold thought a little bit. That is incorrect. So this goes, was that the final? That was it. So the correct answer was, where's my answer now? Jesus said to the man, that the Jews did not know where Jesus had come from. It was part of the, very close, but that was the section that they're looking for, is specifically around where he came from. Question 6. What did the parents...
Question. They knew that this was their son and that he was born blind, but they did not know how he received his sight.
That is correct. Question 7. Who do we know that...
Question. The blind man's parents knew that it was their son.
That is incorrect. So this,
Was that Perlite? It was the one closest to her.
Yeah, one. Yeah, that's it.
this goes to Drew. Who do we know that has spoken to Moses?
Question. God.
That is correct. Question 8. When did Jesus...
Question. After he had heard that they cast him out.
That is incorrect. This goes to Kenton. When did Jesus see a man blind from birth?
Question as he passed by.
That is correct. Question 9. Situation question. Who said it and to whom? Rabbi?
Question. The disciples said it to Jesus.
That is correct. Question number 10. What was the day?
Question. Sabbath.
That is correct. Question 11. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? Whether he is a...
Question. The blind man said it to the Pharisees when they asked who Jesus was.
That is correct.
Time out.
Watch that. Show it. Watch out, fence.
All right. Question number 12. In what were you born?
Question. Hudson.
That is correct.
Time out.
Okay, review questions. Question number 1. Where did Jesus...
Question. Mount Olives?
That is incorrect. This goes to Jackson. Where did Jesus appear early in the morning?
Question. On the other side of the Sea of Galilee from where he fed the 5,000.
That is incorrect. It's in the temple. Question number 2. Who remained in...
Question. Jesus.
That is correct. And last review question. Whom did Jesus ask?
Question. Woman.
That is incorrect. This goes to Caitlin. I gotta find my question again. Whom did Jesus ask? You do not want to leave too, do you?
Question. His disciples.
That is correct. We say the Pharisees called them, and here it refers to the Jews that called the man, the parents of the man.
I don't think you.
I'm fine with it. I mean, you'll see I put Pharisees slash Jew on here, but
It's a little less.
yes, ma'am. The thing is, the key word.
I kept track of it. Which one?
Sure.
So,
So if we're going to change it.
no, that is a bonus. That was wrong. That was a bonus. So this is King Bone. These are correct answers.
That one question about the
So
Pharisees.
there we got a correct answer.
They did ask him
There we
questions.
got them. Not a bonus. There we got it.
Question 15.
That was a bonus. So that is the fourth one is King Bone.
So how was the question worded again? It may have been.
Well, I was thinking it was very clear, like the answer would be required. What did the Pharisees?
Well, it does say due to her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just asked. If they can, like, in between questions, can say, hey, we need one more question, bonus. Can they, without calling the timer? Okay.
I think it's obviously trying to register with us.
Yeah.
Somebody's answering a question.
Look, the answer to that question would be yes, as long as you're not distracted.
I don't mind if you do a little bit of talking, but the biggest thing is when someone on that team is in the process of answering a question, you just have to be quiet because it's for various reasons. Okay, we're ready.
Question number 1. What did Jesus make?
Question. Mud.
That is correct.
Yes.
Question 2. In whom might the works?
Question. The man.
That is correct. Question 3. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? I am.
Question. The blind man said it to the neighbors, and those who had seen it before as a blind beggar. When some said, "It is he," others said, "No,
You're
he
correct.
is
You're
yeah,
correct.
whatever."
Good job. Question 4. For what has Jesus.
Question.
This goes to Lincoln. For what has Jesus come into this world?
Question. Judgment.
That is correct. Question number 5. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and what happened next? Lord.
Question. The blind man said it to Jesus.
You got 2 of the 3, so you're good. Question number 6. Who did the Jews...
Question. The blind man.
That is correct.
Okay.
Unless I missed something, you were not quizzed out. Jude.
I think.
Because I got Jude quizzed out, we're at 6. Are
We've
we on
done,
question 6?
we did 6 questions.
I've only got you with 2 answers.
Okay.
Question number 7. When is Jesus...
Question. Law is day.
Sorry?
Law is day.
That is incorrect. This goes to Lincoln. When is Jesus the light of the world?
Question. Well, is in the world.
That is correct. Question number 8. When must we work the...
Question. Well, is day.
That is correct. Question number 9. Situation question. Who said it to whom? I'm sorry. Who said it and to whom? And who is he, sir?
Question. The blind man said it to Jesus.
That is correct. Question number 10. Who does God listen?
Question. The one who worships him and does his will.
That is correct. Question 11. What did the man born...
Question. One washed in the pool of Siloam.
That is incorrect. This goes to Chase. What did the man born blind not know?
Question where Jesus was.
That is correct. Question 12. Who had heard that the Jews...
Question. Jesus.
That is correct. Review questions. Okay. Review question number 1. What are you if...
Question.
This goes to Lincoln. What are you if you abide in my word? The correct answer is, you are truly my disciples. Question number 2. What did Jesus'
Question.
down to the sea?
That is incorrect. This goes to Shiloh. What did Jesus' brothers say he should do?
Question. Go to Judea.
That is correct. Last review question. Where did our ancestors eat the manna?
Question. In the wilderness.
That is correct. Next is 4 to the left and 2 to the right.
We got 4 team bonus today.
What's that?
Is it 4-2?
Fathers. No.
Four quiz outs.
What is that, an Uber quiz out?
They had 4 quiz outs and a
crazy.
team bonus.
Is that the max score?
Has to be.
Not quite, because they
Oh,
got
they had-
Oh,
they had
because
more than 4 people
Oh,
on
and
there.
actually, the only way we could have max score was if they would have not got this one over here, right?
Okay, go ahead.
Didn't they only get one right? They got one. Yep. So if they would have not got that one, that would have been the only way. This is quiz 5.
Hold on, what's going on here?
I read the one that was up there. Was that incorrect?
Yes, no. What team are you?
1, 2.
My daughter is incorrect.
She put the wrong ones on here.
Did I read 2?
It is 2. You guys are 2. Alright, give me a second here.
Is that as far as your round robin goes, that's the right one. That is 2 is you just had the wrong.
Should be the right
that
one,
quiz
wrong
5?
name. Quiz 5. If you look on that spreadsheet.
Right?
2 and 4, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Who else is on your team?
Rio and Grayson.
Rio? Grayson? Alright, we're good.
Okay, question number. They buzzed in, right?
Yeah.
Question number 1. In whom might the works.
Question. The blind man.
That is correct. Question 2, situation question. Who said it and to whom? For judgment.
Question. Jesus said it to the blind man.
That is correct. Question 3, who asked?
Jesus.
That is incorrect. This goes to Abby, who asked, is this not the man who used to sit and beg?
Question. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar.
That is correct. Question 4, what did the Pharisees.
Question. They asked the blind man who had opened his eyes.
That's correct. Question 5. On what did...
Question. The Sabbath day?
That is incorrect. This goes to Jordan. On what did Jesus spit?
Question. The ground.
That is correct. Question 6. Whose works must...
Question. You must work the works of him who sent me.
That is correct. Question 7. To whom does God...
Question. God does not listen to sinners, but anyone who is a worshiper of God and does his will, God
That is
will
correct.
listen.
Yes.
Time out.
I've noticed that we just provide a lot of context around the verse and just keep going. Question number 8. Situation question. Who said it and to whom? Give...
Question. The Jews said it to the formerly blind man.
That is correct. Question number 9. Who did not know?
Question. The Jews.
That is incorrect. This goes to Jordan. Who did not know how he now sees, or who opened his eyes?
Question. The blind man's parents.
That is correct. Question number 10. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? What did he...
Question. The Pharisees said it to the blind man.
That's correct. Question 11. What did the Jews...
Question. They wondered who had healed the blind man.
I'm going to say incorrect. This goes to Claudia. Oh, what's that?
Yes.
What did the Jews still not believe?
Question. That the blind man had been blind and that he had been healed.
That is correct.
Time out.
Question number 12. When does your guilt...
Question. When because they said I see.
That is correct. Review questions. Question number 1. Why are Jesus's...
Question. Because they are also the Father's.
say again?
Because they are also the fathers, I think.
We're gonna let it slide.
Thank you.
Put it out.
I'm out.
Okay.
Real quick, does a bonus question coming over from the other side, does that count toward the team bonus of
Does
20
not.
points?
No.
Okay.
Review question number 2. When did Jesus say,
Question.
this goes to Landon. When did Jesus say, if anyone thirsts, let him come to me and drink?
Question.
The correct answer is on the last day of the feast. Last review question. Who will give you the food?
Question. Jesus.
That is correct.
Three, one. One, three. Go ahead, Josh. Dietrich.
Question number 1. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? Are we also? That's good enough. You're correct. Question number 2. What did the man That is incorrect. This goes to Elizabeth. What did the man born blind not know? That is correct. Question number 3. With what did Jesus... That is incorrect. This goes to Brienne. With what did Jesus make some mud? That is correct. Question number 4. Of whom were the... That is incorrect. This goes to Josh. Of whom were the man's parents afraid? That is correct. Okay. Question number 5. To whom does God not... That is incorrect. So this goes to Olivia. To whom does God not listen?
Question. Sinners.
That is correct. Question number 6. What did his neighbors... That is incorrect. This goes to Elizabeth. What did his neighbors and those who had seen him begging ask?
Question. Is not this the man who used to sit here and beg?
That is correct. Question 7. When could the man born...
Question. After he had washed?
That is correct. Question number 8. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and what response followed? You were born...
Question. The Jews said it to the formerly blind man, and he was cast out.
That is correct. Question 9. What could this man do?
Question. Nothing.
That is correct. Question number 10. Situation question. Who said it and to whom? I have told...
Question. The blind man said it to the Pharisees.
That is correct. Question 11. What do the Jews...
Question.
This goes to Drew. What do the Jews not know about this man? The answer is where he comes from.
Good job, Drew.
Question number 12. What must we do while
Question. We must work the works while it is still day. We must work the works of him who sent me.
that is correct?
Time out.
Okay, review question number 1. Why are Jesus's This goes to Caitlin. Why are Jesus's judgments true?
Question.
The correct answer is because he is not alone, and also the Father who sent him. I was told to give you guys a warning because y'all were talking. Okay. Review question number 2. When did Jesus say, that is correct?
Yes, you quizzed out.
Last question. Last review question. Who will give you the food?
Question. The Son of Man?
That is correct.
Are you good?
I think the new strategy is don't buzz it until you know the answer or know the question. Hope they get it, hope they're still going fast and getting it wrong.
There's been a lot of errors tonight.
Errors that they would have gotten had they
Yeah.
known.
Yep. One more word.
Screwed up on that first.
They're about 1 or 2 words too early.
Put say you across from Sophia because Sophia is super tricky.
7. Okay. Question number 1. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and what was the situation? He put mud on.
Question. The blind man said it to the Jews when they asked how he had been healed.
That's correct.
Good job.
Question 2. Why is this man not. That's correct. Question number 3. To whom do the neighbors
Question. The Jews. Pharisees.
We're going to say incorrect. This goes to Shiloh. To whom do the neighbors bring the man who had formerly been blind?
Question. To the Pharisees?
That is correct. Question number 4. What word means? That is correct. Question number 5. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? And who is he?
Question. Blind man said it to Jesus when Jesus asked him, "Do you believe in the Son of Man?"
That is correct. Question number 6. From when was a
Question. The Sabbath.
That is incorrect. This goes to Shiloh. From when was a man blind?
Question. Birth.
That is correct. Question number 7. What did his
Question. Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents?
That is incorrect.
Good try, Jude.
This goes to Jackson. What did his neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging ask?
Is this the man who was formerly blind, or is this him?
That is correct.
Good job.
Sorry.
Question number 8. Who had agreed that... That is correct. Question 9. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? I am...
Question. Jesus said it to the disciples.
That is incorrect.
Try.
This goes to Jackson. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? I am the man.
Question. The blind man said it to his neighbors in response to them asking, "Is this that man?"
That is correct.
worried on that. Well, but not the situation one before. He had buzzed in Jude.
7 and 9 Jude got wrong.
He said, you just said, what did his
What did his
Oh,
net?
yeah.
You got what his net meant.
107.
That's right.
situation was?
Yeah. Yes. Question number 10. What if you
Question. If you say we see your guilt remains,
incorrect? So this goes to Abby. What if you Mace? I'm sorry, Jordan.
Your thing's down, Jordan.
You don't know who you are.
What if you were blind?
question.
If you were blind, then you would have no guilt.
That is correct.
Good job.
Question.
Sorry, just a second. Can I contest?
Go ahead.
You said what? Finish that.
What
was the
if
question?
what if you were blind? And your answer was
Yeah, okay, got it.
okay.
You said the second part of the verse, I think.
It's like you could say you are blind or you can see, depending on what. Okay. Question 11. What is amazing?
Question. That the Jews did not know who Jesus or where Jesus came from.
That is correct. Question number 12. On what did Jesus?
Question. The Sabbath.
That is incorrect. This goes to Abby. On what did Jesus put the mud?
Question. The ground.
I'm sorry?
The ground.
That is incorrect. On the blind man's eyes.
I heard you wrong.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
Review questions. Question number 1. With what did Jesus?
Question. Five loaves and 2 fish.
That is incorrect. This goes to Jackson. With what did Jesus start to write on the ground?
Question. His finger.
That is correct. No.
Me?
Does it quiz out if you? Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, you do that.
It's just not
Timeout.
Jude.
Is it 3? Is it 3?
Air it out. Jude.
That was so easy, she didn't think about it.
Yeah, I know. Review question number 2. No one laid what?
Question. A hand.
That is correct.
Good job.
Last review question. How many small
Question.
That is correct.
Is that Jillian? Is that Jillian?
Yeah. No kidding. So that her, is that her quiz out too?
No, she got 2. I missed an error.
So I think you went up, your score went the wrong way though.
No, it didn't.
Was it 65, 65, then it went up 15
Well,
for a quiz
they
out?
go. So,
So it should be 90?
Jillian
should be
quiz out?
55. So let me double check. 10,
So Shiloh quizzed out though.
Shiloh quizzed out.
And that
but
took him
there
to
was-
80.
There was an error that took him back to 75.
Oh, so that 65, 65 was not correct.
Correct.
Okay.
I think so. So I think now they would be at 90.
Yeah, because Jillian quizzed out, right?
Because Jillian quizzed, no.
It was,
Yeah,
it said
she did-
65, 65. I
No,
don't,
they would be at 85. now.
85, correct.
They'd be at 85 now. Because 65.
With that last one, Jillian didn't quiz out.
Hey, Dietrich. Is that how you spell your name or not? Because I think it's wrong. Okay.
Because you can't write your name, right? Question number 1. To whom do the neighbors?
Question. The blind man.
That is incorrect. This goes to Olivia. To whom do the neighbors bring the beggar who had been blind? That is correct.
Good try, Carson.
Question 2. What remains now? This goes to Carson. What remains now that you claim you can see?
Question.
The correct answer is your guilt. Question number 3. Who has ever heard of...
Question. Never. Never since the world began.
That is incorrect. This goes to Dustin. Who has ever heard of opening the eyes of a man born blind?
Question. No one.
That is correct. Question number 4. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and what was the response? Where is he?
Question. The neighbors and those who had seen him before as a beggar said it to the man, the formerly blind man, when he said that the guy had opened his eyes.
That is
Jesus had opened
correct.
his eyes.
Question number 5. When can no one That is correct. Question 6. For whom will the man...
Question. His parents.
That is incorrect. This goes to Dustin. For whom will the man born blind speak?
Question. Himself.
That is correct. Question number 7. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and in response to what? You have seen him.
Question. Jesus said it to the blind man when he asked who the Son of Man was.
That is correct. Question number 8. Who insisted? That is incorrect. This goes to Carson. Who insisted, I am the man?
Question. Formerly blind man.
That is correct. Question 9. How should you give... We're going to scratch that question. It wasn't said in a way that made sense. Still on 9.
I don't think even you guys would have got it. It was weird.
All right. Another question to replace it. When must we work?
Question. While it is day.
That is correct. Question number 10. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and what happened next? Lord?
Question. The blind man said it to Jesus.
That is correct. Question 11. What is Jesus'
Question. To do the works of him who sent him.
That is incorrect. This goes to Dietrich. What is Jesus as long as he is in the world?
Question. The light of the world.
That is correct. Question number 12.
Are you switching? It's a quiz.
Okay. You're not close to done, but.
Can I call a timeout?
Yeah. Question number 12. Until when?
Question. Until it is night.
Incorrect. This goes to Dustin. Until when did the Jews still not believe that the man had been blind and had received his sight?
Question. Until they went to the blind man's parents.
That is correct.
Time out.
Can I call a timeout?
Okay, review questions. Question 1. What did Moses
Question. To stone such women.
That is correct. Question 2. Of what was Judas?
Question. Jesus' disciple, Simon Iscariot.
Say it again, please.
Jesus' disciple.
Yes, that is correct.
You were aired out. I forgot to tell you. That was Olivia, right?
Yes.
You were quizzed out.
Last review question. When were the disciples?
Question.
This goes to Lydia. When were the disciples frightened?
Question. When we saw Jesus walking on water.
That is correct.
That's quiz out.
All right.
So can we swap? Since it's, well, but it's tied, so can we switch?
I would say so. They got 3 more questions. What did she ask? Ask if they can switch, and she quizzed out.
You do 3 more? Or is it just
There's
one?
3 more, isn't it?
Well, that's
Am
not
I tied?
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
Do they have them?
Quiz out.
We have, yeah, we have.
Oh, yeah. Hold on. That might be a good catch. 10, 20, 30, 40. Drew did not quiz out. Drew, here you go. Yeah, no, we're good.
So you go ahead and swap out.
But I do have something right here though. The score is still Dietrich quizzed out and Olivia quizzed out.
Let's go, Esther.
I quizzed, yep, it's right, it's right.
Okay. 3.
They're following time out. So, yes.
How many people are over here in this place right now?
I think, put Dietrich back in? I think you can. He can't answer.
I thought
He can only answer bonuses, is all he'll be able to answer.
you actually re-enter the quiz?
I didn't see anything that says no.
Just don't for now. I have to look at that. But, Olivia.
So, Caitlin and Olivia are going to.
You may not re-enter the match. Once he's quizzed out and
Two of them are AOL, so only you two can get both. They might change chairs going up on it.
Yeah.
They can.
Who gets the last seat?
Do the whole left hand, right hand picture.
Okay, 3 questions. Question number 1. For what has Jesus...
Question. The testimonies of 2 men is true?
That is incorrect.
I think they think they only use the,
Oh,
the she sent back the review thing.
you clarify that?
Yeah. Did you think we were on review?
Huh?
Did you think we were still on review?
I didn't know what we were doing.
We need to redo that.
Should we stick with review questions?
No, I don't care if you go to 9, but she has to know that you're on 9 now.
Sure. So should I say a different question? Let
I
them know
would do
that
it again.
okay.
Yeah, but that's
So
not fair to her.
so this is not review questions. These last 3 will just be other questions from today, okay? And I'll do another question. Question replacing 1. Who did the Jews revile?
Question. The man that was born blind.
That is correct. Question number 2. When must we work?
Question. While it is day.
That is correct.
Team bonus.
Team bonus. Last question. Who does God listen?
Question. Those that believe in him.
That is incorrect.
Good try, Esther.
This goes to Caitlin. Who does God listen to?
Question. The one who does his will.
That is correct. That is the final question.
Team bonus. Nope, I didn't get it right after.
Three, two, two, three, two, three. All right, that's last chance.
I know.
They're determined to take that team out.
Okay, question number 1. Situation question. Who said it, to whom, and when? Do you...
Question. Jesus said it to the blind man.
That is correct. Question number 2. Who could see when he...
Question. The blind man.
That is correct. Question number 3. Never since the...
Question. That anyone has opened, never since the world began has been heard that anyone has opened the eyes of a man born blind.
That is correct. Question 4. What did the parents...
Question. We know that this is our son, that he was born blind, but
That is correct. Question 5. Situation question. Situation question. Who said it and to whom? For judge...
question. Jesus said it to the blind man.
That is correct.
Time out.
Question number 6. When would you have... This goes to Trace. When would you have no guilt?
Question. When you see.
If you were blind. Question number 7. To whom did the neighbors...
Question. They brought the blind man to the Pharisees.
That is correct.
Time out.
Question number 8. Situation question. Who said it, about whom, and what was the response? This man...
Question. The blind man said it to.
That is incorrect. This goes to Josh. Situation question. Who said it, about whom, and what was the response? This man is not from God, for he does not keep the Sabbath.
Question. The Pharisees said it to Jesus, about Jesus.
That is correct. Question 9. If what could this man...
Question.
goes to Josh. If what, could this man do nothing?
Question. He was a sinner.
That is incorrect. If he were not from God.
Can I call a timeout?
Yes. Question number 10. What was the day?
Question, Sabbath.
That is correct. Question 11. Why did the man...
Question.
This goes to Joe. Why did the man's parents fear the Jews?
Question. Because they had already agreed that anybody who professed Jesus Christ would be put out of the synagogue.
That is correct. Question 12. Where did the blind... That is correct. Okay, review questions. Question 1. Why did no...
Question. His hour had not yet come?
That is correct. Question 2. Who will find out what...
Question. Whoever believes in me.
That is incorrect. This goes to Joe. Who will find out whether the teaching comes from God or whether I'm speaking on my own authority?
Question. He whose will is to do the will of God.
Say it again, please.
He whose will is to do the will of God.
That is correct. Last question.
Can I call a timeout again quick? Or not? Can you call timeouts in the last 3 questions?
I think so.
Yeah,
Can I call a timeout?
Yeah, you got it.
Okay. Last review question. What is the bread?
Question. The true bread.
I'm sorry?
The true bread.
That is incorrect. This goes to Rio. What is the bread of God?
Question. The bread that comes down from heaven.
That is correct.
could get an area? They were at 4?
They were at 5. One more. They already went down one. They would have went down 5 points, and it would have had to been you two though to quiz out, and you'd have tied it.
I didn't know they were. I didn't know they
That was your only hope.
Just hold us.
Yeah.